Welcome to Saddle Up Live, a transformative podcast tailored for women aged 40 and beyond, where courage, God's grace, and a touch of sass are the driving forces behind conquering life's challenges. Join me, Lisa Koski, as I take you on a captivating ride through the multifaceted aspects of womanhood in this vibrant stage of life. We are covering everything from my journey through breast cancer, the intricacies of marriage, and the joys of motherhood, to the exciting adventures of grandparenting. In each episode, we saddle up for candid conversations about God, health, relationships, family dynamics, and the beautiful chaos that comes along the way. But here's the twist. Saddle Up Live goes beyond navigating the highs and lows of life. It's a platform dedicated to sharing what we have learned along the way. I want to help women thrive through it all. Together, we'll uncover actionable strategies for personal and professional development, providing you with the tools and inspiration needed to blaze new trails and seize every opportunity that comes your way. Moreover, we are committed to helping you suffer less and live more fully. Through our discussions on God, health, wellness, and mindfulness, we explore practical techniques for managing stress, cultivating resilience, and embracing a holistic approach to self-care. So whether you're looking for practical advice, heartfelt stories, or simply a supportive community of like-minded women, saddle up and join us on this exhilarating ride. Because at Saddle Up Live, we believe every woman deserves to thrive, flourish, and live her best life, no matter her age or stage. Welcome, listeners. I'm very excited to have Lora Cheadle here today. She's an attorney. She's done TEDx talks. She talks about betrayal. You're actually a betrayal specialist and coach. So, Lora, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really looking forward to this conversation.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really good. And I think we're going to get your authentic story to what led you to do the work you're doing. We're going to talk about 5 steps to kind of heal from betrayal. And we're also going to talk a little bit about staying in a marriage when there's a betrayal. So those are the things we're going to be covering. So welcome. I appreciate you taking the time to be here. And would you mind just starting by sharing your story?
Yeah, absolutely. It was not a fun story. I'll just preface it by saying that. After 23 years of what I really thought was a good marriage, one of my best friends, father of my children, I was completely devastated to learn that he had been cheating on me for 15
Oh,
years with 5 different women.
oh,
Oh, yeah, and as you might imagine, when I found out about the first one, I was stunned. When I found out about the second one, I was out of here. There is no way, no how, not gonna do this. When I found out about the third woman, I'm like, "Yep, we're done, really done, doner than done." Woman 4 and woman 5, I actually started thinking, what is really going on?
mhm.
This doesn't make sense. We are best friends. We have a great time together. We have a great life. This doesn't make sense. And that's what actually brought me back in a little bit and made me curious about why he was cheating on me. How could I have missed an entire double life?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then long story short, it has taken many years, but we have completely rebuilt ourselves and then came back together and rebuilt our relationship.
Oh my gosh, I didn't even know that.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
amazing.
Mhm.
I mean, how
Mhm.
do you get over that betrayal, honey? I mean, that's a lot.
It is a lot. It is a lot. Um, a lot of different ways. There's a lot of different ways you get over it. But the first thing is you decide. You decide to take this experience as a gift. What can I take from this? What can I learn from this? My The saying that I always say to people that I work with, this saying that I said to myself throughout this experience was, "The betrayal uncovers the truth," and that a wise woman is going to see what truth has been uncovered, and then she is going to do something with that truth. And I was determined to get everything out of this horrific experience that I could get that would serve me in my next chapter.
That's so good. Okay, I want you to talk more about this, how you so betrayal uncovers the truth. So you learned some
Mhm.
truths, I'm guessing.
Oh, I learned a lot of truths. And the thing is, when we go through a betrayal, whether it's infidelity, whether it's just feeling betrayed because your marriage didn't turn out whether how it was supposed to, whatever that betrayal is, our first instinct is to point our finger at the other person and say, "You did this to me, and how could you do this, and why didn't you do this?" Or to internalize it and then to start blaming ourselves. "Oh my gosh, what did I do wrong?" And to move into that state of despair and collapse.
Mhm.
And what betrayal uncovers is the truth about us, the truth about where we need to grow, the truth about where we were wounded, the truth about our beliefs that no longer serve us. And it was very painful to uncover some of those, to admit to myself, not that I caused the affairs, I did not cause them
Right.
at all. But there are some things in me that were uncovered. Some of my need to control was uncovered. Some of my fear of abandonment was uncovered. Some of the ways that I liked, and liked is a strange word, but to martyr myself. I
Mhm.
liked to be the one who did it all for everybody. I like to overextend myself because then I could kind of feel like a martyr, like, "Oh, you all
Mhm.
need me." And those are some unhealthy dynamics and patterns that were uncovered in me, for me, to see, heal, and address and change.
So when this happened to you, did you kind of just start working on yourself and then or did you both work together? What happened?
It was a combination of both. I was kinda laughing because, no, first I collapsed.
Yeah,
You
I'm
know,
sure.
first yeah, first I was in shock, I was in grief, I was in despair, I was in denial, I was in rage, I was in all of that. And then when that happened, that's when I started realizing I can't control him, I can control me,
Mhm.
but at the same time, I was curious because it was so egregious. It wasn't just I met somebody and got drunk and had a one night stand. It wasn't that I
Right.
fell in love with what? 5 women? Are you kidding me? Over like,
Right.
who does that? So I really put down that judgment and I got curious. Why did you do this? Why did this make sense to you? As you might know, because you're an attorney too, I had a drive to figure out what was going on. It needed to make sense to me. Humans do things that make sense on
Right.
some level. Yeah, why? Why did this seem like a good idea?
Okay, so you had it you figured out for yourself some truths and then how did it make sense to you even more from your spouse's perspective?
Mhm. As I was working on me, as I was growing, I was continuing to have conversations with him. And we started learning how to talk together in different ways. We were living apart. He was doing his work. I was doing mine. He started uncovering his trauma background and his history. I started uncovering some of my beliefs about womanhood, some of my wounded patterns as well. Then we started having constructive conversations with no goal in mind other than to hear each other and to
Okay.
find out about what was going on. We weren't fighting to save the marriage. We were fighting to figure it out because believe me, there were a lot of things he couldn't figure out either. So the
Right.
goal of our conversation, yeah, was to talk.
I love that. Okay, now I'm kind of jumping backwards because you have 5 steps. Are we
Yes.
going through some of those steps now just so that I can get them
No, and I
No.
will I'll put a bookmark. That was just more story. I will put a bookmark in because it is part of it. The 5 steps are encapsulated in the acronym FLAUNT. And I
Okay.
love the energy of the word flaunt because it's just putting yourself out there. This is
Yep.
what happened to me. This is it. For good or for bad, this is it.
Yep.
The F stands for find your fetish, and fetish is intentionally a triggering word because it requires us to look in and say, "What lights me up?" Not what is supposed to light me up, but what does light me up. And
Okay.
yes, I was doing the hard work, but I was also returning to dance. I love dance. I was returning to different forms of creativity. I was reconnecting with friends. I was doing things to light me up, not to light anybody else up.
Right.
Yeah. The L in flaunt is for laugh out loud. And according to the Mayo Clinic, laughter is the number one way to calm and re-regulate the nervous system. So I intentionally sought out laughter. I watched funny movies. I subscribed to the Disney Channel and watched like kid things because it made me laugh.
Okay, I
And when
have to jump in and just say, how soon did you do this in the process?
I tried very soon in the process, and it was not very effective right away. Like I would try maybe 2, 3 weeks out. And I was
Mhm.
trying. I was trying for the tools. I knew these tools. I was trying to use them. They weren't that effective, but I just kept trying. And it wasn't until a month or so that it finally started kicking in and I was like, "Yes, I do feel better."
Okay, I love that it's so funny because when you brought that up, one of my first podcasts ever, which my producer said, "Take this off, the sound quality is so bad," was the laughing love bugs, and they did yoga where they laughed. And it
Oh,
was funny because yeah, and so I love what you're saying, and it's so important. And so that laugh, and they talked about just laughing even if it's not funny because your body is still kind of feeling it.
yes. Yes.
So I
Yeah.
love that, and I just had to bring that up because you made me think of that, and so I'm gonna try to do that more as well.
Good.
Yes.
Good. Yeah, it's counterintuitive, but you're right. Your body it's a cathartic release, and if you think about laughing and crying, it's the same physiological response.
Right.
Tears, bubbling over. I'd
Yep.
rather laugh. I was crying a lot. I didn't
I
need
bet.
that.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So good.
AU yeah, AU is the what I call the golden center of flaunt, and that is where I was what I was really talking about in my story. That stands for accept unconditionally. Do you know how hard it is to accept that your partner has cheated on you for 15 years and that you
Yeah.
didn't know it? Yeah. There's a lot of acceptance there, and I had to accept that I hadn't known it. I had to accept that I couldn't go back and change it. I had to accept that he did it. I had to accept the impact that it had on our kids. I had like, all of these things I had to accept,
Mhm.
and
Now I
that's
can't help but ask, you have kids,
I do.
and they found out about it?
Yes.
That's hard.
Sadly, they found out right away. They were in high school and college, so they
Oh,
weren't young.
yeah, but still
Uh-huh.
hard. Yep.
But it's still really, really hard.
Yep. Ugh. Okay.
Mhm, mhm. Um, the N in flaunt stands for navigate, and in particular, navigate the negative, because there's a lot of negative that comes up, and it's so easy to get shut down. "This happened to me, and he did that to me, and we're not gonna do this." Yes, you're right. Accept that. How are you gonna move through it? Where do you wanna be at the end? This was huge for me. Do I want to be a bitter old lady? No. Do I wanna be a man-hating, unforgiving? No. Do I wanna be a pushover? No.
Right.
I wanna be in my power, and I wanna be clear, and I wanna have an understanding, and how am I gonna navigate all of these roadblocks in order to get me to that space?
And I mean, there's probably a wealth of information. Navigating that that had to take a lot of time. Was that maybe the
Mm,
longest step?
yeah, yeah, because things even the best laid plans don't work out, and it's
Right.
so hard to be defeated, and there was a lot of growth that I needed to go through, and there was a lot of growth that my husband needed to go through, and change is slow,
Yeah.
and we backslide, And it's not like we go, "Ooh, I've got this, and I'm just gonna show up differently every single day." No, you show up differently for a couple days, then you fall right back to how you kept showing up in the past.
Yes.
You go ahead, it's like that's it's such a climb.
So, I mean, and how do you keep, because I know I was just talking about how I've been trying to love bomb my husband, like just love him. And like you love your kids and your grandkids. And I keep slipping back and not doing it. And then I go, oh, I need, so how did you keep fighting to navigate through this?
Mhm. I would let myself feel whatever it was that I was feeling. If I was feeling some rage, I would talk about that. I would feel it. I'm big at somatic processing. I'm a somatic attachment therapist. I dance, I move, I breathe, I
Hmm.
rage. I do whatever it is to feel what I'm feeling so it can move through me,
Hmm.
so I can return myself to peace. And I don't force myself to peace. If I'm going to have a trash can day, I can have one.
I know.
If
How
I
many days do you allow yourself to have a trash can day though? You know what I mean?
Mhm,
Like, you know how
mhm,
I can wallow.
mhm.
Um, So I like what you said, trash can day. I get that. But sometimes it's hard to get out of that feeling when it's something so traumatic and
Mhm,
so hurtful. It's
mhm,
hard
mhm,
because you're
and
like,
that's
well, I'm
where
feeling my feelings. This is how I feel. And you're trying to move through it, but it's sticking around for a long time. How long do you let it stick around?
yeah, not really an answer. I can't
Yeah.
say, like, 20 days, that's it, but that's where the F and the L in flaunt, find your fetish. I would make it a point to do something every day, to do
Okay.
something fun every day, whether it's going like, we have a lake that's a mile around. I'd go walk around the lake.
Right.
I would go to the bookstore. I would go grab a coffee. Like, just do something every day. Just
Yeah.
find one thing to laugh at every day.
Yeah.
Because you know how, like you said, wallow. We wallow in bad, but we can wallow in good too. And
Yep.
sometimes, you're shopping and you're wallowing in your shopping, but it's a positive way, and
Right.
it's fun, and it can
Yeah.
shift the energy.
Yes. Shifting that energy. And I feel like when you talked about movement and dancing, I could just
Mhm.
see that happening too. So I love that analogy. I like that idea. Okay.
Yeah,
E.
yeah. And another thing around that I'm just gonna jump in on
Yeah.
is they say the experts say whenever you have a feeling, it really only lasts 90 seconds. That it takes 90 seconds for that thought, that feeling to process through the body. So sometimes I would time myself. I would literally take a timer on my phone and I would identify that feeling, grief, rage, ticked
Yeah.
off, hatred, whatever it is. And I would set that timer and I would try to feel it as fully and as powerfully as I could for 90 seconds. Can you keep that rage scream up for 90 seconds? That's hard. Can you feel
Hmm.
crushed for 90 seconds? That's hard. And then when it's over, the timer says it's over. Your brain says it's over, your body, whew, done with that.
Kind of like the duck who lets it roll off their back, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. I'm going to try that because I think I can get stuck and kind of circle in
Yeah.
some of those feelings of sadness and it's big stuff. It's not little
Oh,
stuff
yeah.
that I go through. Um, so I'm gonna try that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like
And
that.
the last step in flaunt, 'cause that was the only one we didn't talk
Mm,
about, is T, and that's for trust in your truth. And this really goes to what you were saying, how long? Until your heart knows, until your body knows, until your mind knows, until your soul knows. When you start identifying all the different parts of you, it's so much easier to trust. My heart is still broken. My head is understanding this. My gut tells me I can't trust. My mind says I should. Like, start identifying all of those parts and trust what they're all telling you. And they don't
mhm.
have to be congruent. When you can name what each part is feeling, it really helps.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so how long did it take you, and I know it's different for everyone, to heal through this?
Mhm. That's hard because it's not like you wake up one day and say, "Bing, I'm healed."
Yeah.
The whole first year was a year of anniversaries, and it was a year of processing, and was a year of understanding, and was a year of just being in that tenderness.
Mhm.
It wasn't really until the next year out that I think that's where the healing takes place, because that first year, you're still in trauma, you're still in shock.
Mhm.
Second year, I felt like the healing really kicked in a lot quicker because I'd already been through it once.
Yep.
I'd already cleaned out the muck and it was time to heal. And I was really conscious of that.
Yeah. Well, I want you to
Mhm.
know you're inspiring me because I don't think that it was probably really maybe easy for you to stay. And there were probably people saying, "What the hell's wrong with you?"
Right.
And you did the work on yourself. Um what a great I mean, that's love, Laura. That's love. That's unconditional love that you
Yeah.
showed to your ex. And I'm sure that these steps that you gave work. And then, there's sometimes people that do decide to leave. W-
Totally.
So
Totally.
let's talk a
And
little bit about that before this is all over, because
yeah.
in your situation, you probably were both working on it together, but
Mhm.
sometimes maybe you can do everything you can do.
Yes.
Okay.
And we were not working to save the marriage, we were
Right.
working
You
to
said
save
that.
ourselves.
Right.
You know, we really weren't. He's got a background in trauma, a lot of trauma. He was a foster kid, lived in poverty, like, trauma impacts people. He did not understand the impact of trauma on him. He didn't know what healing that trauma was going to mean for him.
Hmm.
I didn't know what it was gonna mean either, but we were willing, we were friends, we've been together forever, we do love each other, whether we want to be in a marriage relationship or not, we still love and like each other.
Right.
So, it was the willingness to, "Well, I'll support you through understanding your trauma, you're gonna support me through healing from this trauma, even though you caused this trauma,
Right.
and let's just be where we're at, and let's just see what happens. There's no agenda. Let's start talking." We started talking about the things that we were unhappy with in our marriage. We all settle for things. You know,
Hmm.
we all get complacent. We all settle for things. We started talking, "I'm no longer willing to have certain things in my marriage." And he would say, "I'm no longer willing to have certain things in my marriage." Well, let's see if it works out together. Let's see
Hmm.
if we're a fit now as these new people, and if we're not, bless and release because we still have to co-parent together.
Yep. Amen. Yeah. And that's so
Mhm,
important.
mhm.
So, it could have gone either way. And I think that's kind of your
Totally.
message. Yeah. For people is to do this work for
Yeah.
yourself, and
Yes.
you'll see where it leads you, I guess. Is that
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. And, you know, are we committed in our marriage? Of course we're committed, but at
Mhm.
the
Yeah.
same time, we're more committed to ourselves, even going forward. If we need to separate, we need to separate. If we will experience more growth apart than together, we're okay with that too.
Mhm.
It's really all around that unconditional acceptance of where we're at and what we need to do to take care of ourselves and what we're willing, and we were both willing at the same time. And that happens a lot too. One partner's willing, the other partner's like, "Not there yet, not there
Right.
yet."
Right. Okay, so we're almost done. This has gone so fast, but I just have to lean in a little bit more to the unconditional acceptance.
Yeah.
That's probably was that I mean, that's got to be so hard. I said the navigating probably took the longest, but maybe is that part of the navigating?
It is part of it, because in order to navigate, you have to be honest about what's there, and so
Yeah.
many of us like to pretend, "Oh, that's not really what happened, that's not really what I need to work on."
Yeah. Yeah. So I just can't imagine I can't imagine that being easy. I feel like you'd have to be a very strong person, very strong-willed to be able to go in and to have unconditional acceptance. Is that true? And how can people tap into that?
Yeah, that's a great question. Yes and no. Like, we're all strong. We are all strong because it's what do you want? How do you want to feel? This is your life. You get this one life. What are you gonna do with this one life?
Yeah.
Do you want to be broken? So many people come to me and they're like, "I'm broken." Well, do you wanna stay broken? Because you can.
Yeah.
Or do you wanna be cracked open and grow? Because you can do that too.
That's such a good quote.
Thank you.
I love that. And that's part of like coaching. When I do my self coaching, you get up in the morning and you decide how you want to feel.
Yes.
And that's what you're saying.
Mhm.
And so that's when you start doing the unconditional acceptance.
Mhm.
That's so, so good. This has been amazing. Now, I
Thank
feel like we've covered a lot. We've covered the 5 steps. Is there anything else that we're missing as time is ticking and we're almost going to say goodbye? Is there anything else that you want to leave people with?
I wanna leave people with the reminder to be gentle, to be
Yeah,
really gentle with themselves. It's a journey. You will not get there overnight. You will change your mind, and it's okay. Just be gentle with yourself.
that's so good. So, so good.
Mhm.
Laura, it was such a treat to get to know you and to hear your story. And I know it's going to help people. So I thank you. And I'm going to kind of stay in touch with you because I want to maybe connect again. I think this was extremely helpful. And I so admire that you went through something hard and now you're sharing because it's not easy to share that stuff all the time. So thank you. I want you to know I see you doing that and I appreciate it. And I'm getting teary eyed. So
Thank you so much. That
yeah.
means the world to me.
Yeah. Thanks for being here. You take good care.
You too.
Thank you for tuning in to another empowering episode of Saddle Up Live. As we conclude this exhilarating journey together, don't forget to subscribe, share your thoughts, and become a valued member of our vibrant community. Because, as always, every woman deserves to thrive, flourish, and live her best life. Until the next time, saddle up and keep conquering those trails.